What's going on today?
Nothing much. How have you been?
Everything's good. Good to see you again. How's life?
It's great to see you. Life is good. Life is good. How about for you?
Everything's great. I really enjoy the concept. I've thought about the concept behind your book before, about just a different approach, because I think sometimes we get so personal. We're on such an emotive level, right? That it's
Hmm.
hard to separate things into anything rational.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. When people, sometimes critics will question and say, so you're trying to take the romance out of it, and love isn't about logic. And, my response is always that when you come at it with logic and strategy, it protects love, it protects romance, it protects all the things we associate with relationships, but it has to be protected. And structure and procedures and all that actually create more space for those really fun aspects of a relationship.
And the interesting thing about your book is that, when you get out into the real world, after you're done with secondary education, even college, they don't teach you about these foundational elements that people flounder about: their relationship with money, their relationship with the opposite sex, or whoever they're in love
Right.
with.
Right.
It's all just kind of this, well, good luck, go ahead, get out there and do it. It's kind of how
Yeah.
it happens. But we
Yeah.
all need these blueprints and these
Mhm.
guidebooks and these tips to help us realize how to do it better, because the
Yeah.
failure rate, the divorce rate's high.
Yeah.
There's tons of debt. There's all this
Right.
misinformation, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly it. It will, as I've done this more and more with clients, when I think about it, there's so much of our lives that we do follow plans and structure and go to, people who can help direct us. But when it comes to our relationships, it's like, I don't know, let's see what happens. And I'm like, oh God,
I know.
how are we doing it that way? And no wonder people struggle or are shying away from marriage or getting divorced because there's no real plan.
And it's interesting, the older you get, you think back on things that were hang-ups, right? Like 10, 15, 20 years ago, what was really hanging you up about a relationship you were in? You just don't even remember it,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
I
Just kind of
agree.
evaporates. Well, we jumped in real quick. So Marriage Inc., the boardroom blueprint to a lasting love
Mhm.
is what we're talking about specifically. And I want to know, how long did this idea, how long was it incubated before you decided to write it?
Right. So probably started this approach with clients about 15 years ago. I really just kind of rolled into it because I was working with executives, predominantly executive women. And what was fascinating to me, Joe, is they could tell me how they resolved conflict at work, with their teams and within the organizations they were leading. And then they would bring up their relationships, and I'd say, well, what did you do at work when there was conflict? And their pushback was, Robin, that's different. It's not the same at home. And I kept thinking to myself, why? These are things you're good at, they're skills. Why couldn't we generalize them? And so I started pushing back on my clients saying, okay, well, let's just think about this. So for 15 years, I've been doing this and adding to it. And the book itself took from beginning to end 7 years to fruition. So that was a long, wonderful and hard journey, but I'm really excited about it because it takes all of these ideas that I've been using with clients and puts them in one place for readers.
So I got to know, before we dig into it more, it came out on August 20. What do you do on a book launch? Do you have, is you celebrate? What do you do? What's the most exciting part of it?
Oh, it's a great question, Joe. So the book was actually officially published on Amazon last Thursday, the 18th of September. It was on it ahead of time, but a book launch is all about just trying to generate energy and excitement, get as many people to hear about it. So yeah, I wish it was about celebrating. That day was about as many social media posts as I could do, as many interviews as I could do, then navigating the wonderful well wishes from colleagues and friends and strangers because they're an important part of it. I mean, without them, the book just sits on a shelf. So it was a lot of fast-paced. The day was a blur, but the energy and the adrenaline was incredibly high. And I'm very, very lucky to have an incredibly supportive family and friends who are really excited to share the word and move it beyond just my immediate circle. So yeah, it was fun.
So let me ask you this. It was 7 years in the making. You used
Yeah.
it with clients. What was kind of the primary feedback? What were some of the more illuminating, positive case studies that went into you saying this should be a document that I should put into the world?
I think the if there was one category, I would say it was the clients that came to me that had tried couples therapy, traditional therapy and counseling, and it didn't work. Or they were, one or both of them were really hesitant to start working with me doing couples coaching because of a really painful or difficult experience in therapy. And those are the clients I really love working with because couples coaching gives them an alternative, something that's different, a different approach. We don't start in the past, we start in the present with coaching. And that is right away is a different perspective because we're not deep diving into problems that honestly, Joe, we can't change. You can't change the past.
Yeah.
So unless there are definite clinical issues, and I screen my clients to make sure there aren't those clinical issues that should be in therapy, it's fun to watch clients start to have the success pretty quickly because the strategies are so concrete. This isn't theory. This isn't, we're just going to talk about feelings. It is, you can do this tonight and it will start to have an impact, a positive impact on your relationship. And that's cool because when couples are dissatisfied at best or miserable, they don't want to feel that anymore. So they want to know, oh, this can actually work as quickly as possible.
What's the number one barrier that will not allow people to be more pragmatic and more
Hmm.
logical about some of these strategies?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, Joe, I think I would put some of the blame on just the societal construct we have around relationships. I mean, we are taught in rom-coms, Disney, Hallmark, all wonderful things, but we're taught that love just happens and it's destiny and fate, and then we just hope that it goes well. And it boggles my mind because when I've worked with one CEO I worked with, he said to me when he was pushing back, and I said, well, let me ask you, and we'll just call him John. I'm like, John, would you have gone into your business? Do you run your business hoping that it works out? And the look on it, he got it real quick. He was like, no. He's like, we have very clear KPIs on how to measure. We have goals. I said, right. So why not in a relationship? Why wouldn't we have those things to help get that quantitative information so we can make the qualitative improvements? And then he was done. He was all sold after that.
Well, the one thing too about relationships that's tricky is there's a lot of emotive things that get thrown
Yeah.
into it that can be disastrous, like having children because maybe things aren't going well, or
Yeah.
moving to another city, or making a big purchase, or
Yeah.
refinancing a home. It seems like there's these ancillary things that are done without thinking in a business sense of what's
Right.
the rational, logical thing to do.
Right. I think that when our emotion, I am not saying we shouldn't have emotions or they don't have a place or they don't have benefits. But like anything, there is a time and a place for that they're appropriate and best used. And there's lots of opportunities to do that in a relationship. But if you don't have the structure on how to manage the emotions when they're not serving the relationship, then the emotions are going to take over. And that's positive or negative. If a couple, is thinking about moving into a home, a new house, and they find this amazing place and it's all excitement, but it's out of their budget and they just go with the emotional reaction and buy the house, they're going to be in trouble. So that's a positive emotion, but it's not going to serve their long-term goal for their relationship. And on the flip side, if we're dealing with bitterness or frustration with our partner, then that is going to cloud how we are logically looking at our communication, our contribution to the situation, because that's an important piece of that. Analysis is important, and emotion gets in the way of clear analysis.
So how do you read the book? Sometimes with books like this, you don't want to go cover to cover as fast as you
Mhm.
can. How do you pace this book?
Yeah. Part of the book is the way I set it up is that people could choose to go to certain chapters. Specifically for people who aren't in a relationship, there are one or two chapters around how to create a plan for dating. So of course they're going to gravitate, I would think, to that first.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons that I also created a workbook to go alongside the text itself, because in my mind, ideally, couples will sit down and maybe each will have their own copy of the book, so they're going at their own pace to read it or skipping around to the chapters that are drawing them. But the workbook allows them to do concrete, tangible things together. They can actually, when they're creating, for example, their mission statement, they can do it together and have it organized in a place that they both can go back to. So this is not a theoretical book. It's not the philosophy of marriage or my perspective on love. It is, you want your relationship to either be better or continue to grow, get out of a rut. It's not that it's necessarily in crisis. It's just you want to make sure it doesn't. So you're going to use this book and the strategies in it to ensure long-term success.
So, for anybody out there that's listening to this, that's absorbing all of this, and they're on the line of whether they want to purchase this book and
Yeah,
continue this idea or not, what would you say to them? What would be your ultimate sales pitch to go
yeah.
out and order the
Hmm.
book?
Oh, that's interesting. So here's where my emotion or my desire to help people goes before sales. So I would simply ask a question. Is your relationship where you want it to be? I would think a lot of couples could say, no, it's not perfect. So that might be a good reason to consider, well, what could you do differently, something new that will make it the relationship you want it to be? For the handful of couples that might say, yeah, we are in a great place. I can't imagine it being any better. My response is, and do you want to ensure it stays that way? Because once we reach a certain level, doesn't mean now we coast.
Yeah.
Because if we coast, we're going to backslide. So if you want a relationship that continues to grow, continues to thrive, why not purchase a book or look at resources that become a tool within your whole toolbox so that you can tap into it? Maybe not right now, but maybe in a year, maybe in 5 years, you're like, oh, we want to do something different because things don't feel right. And now you have the tools at your disposal really quickly.
So on drrobinbuckley.com, everything's out there. There's a lot of other resources. You
Mhm.
can order the book. There's a link right on there.
Yeah.
Any of the other good information anywhere else people can go if they want?
Sure. As part of the book launch that you asked about, Joe, my book coach had me do a very intensive social media campaign. So I'm on 8 different platforms, but the most common, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me under the same name, Dr. Robin Buckley, and that's where a lot of people love because they get the snippets and they get it from my voice.
Okay, excellent. This has been wonderful. Great to catch back up with you.
It's so
Hopefully
good to
we,
see you again.
yeah, great.